I think I was asked in a previous video, my comment section, if I watched women's football. And yeah, I do. It's not on very often because usually it's restricted to like international competition, like the World Cup and other tournaments, uh, and some friendlies sprinkled here and there. Um, Usually, if you're a U.S. fan, like I am, you live in the U.S., it's understandable why you would be more into it than you wouldn't otherwise, because the U.S.'s women's soccer program is amongst the best in the world, if not the best in the world. The U.S. the women's national team is the current world champions. Um, they just came off their third title from the 2015 edition in Canada. The Women's World Cup has only been around since 1991, so it's a very young tournament. There's only been a handful of champions ever. I think only four different countries have won it. Soccer amongst young girls in the United States is a very popular sport, and also young kids in general. I think it's now the number one sport for that kids are getting involved in recreationally. Uh, um, but to answer the question, yeah, yeah, I watch it. I don't have, a lot of people, a lot of guys are against watching it because they either think that it's boring or there's a huge gap in quality, or some go even further and are kind of jerks about it and think that women have no business playing soccer. Um, I mean, my whole thing about it has been this is a sport for everyone to enjoy, so why can't everyone participate in it? I don't think we're ever going to have mixed gendered teams, though. I don't think we're ever going to see women and men playing together on the same teams. Um, and I think the reason for that is because you watch women's soccer and you watch men's soccer, and tactically and skill wise, it's very different. Um, in women's soccer, one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of the success in it is determined by athleticism and physicality. That's why a lot of Northern European countries and the United States and Canada, their women's teams are amongst the best in the world. So, like United States, Canada, Sweden, Germany, Norway, in comparison to women's teams from other regions of the world. Now, there are exceptions, of course. Japan are 2011 World Cup uh, champions, and Brazil are also a very good side as well. But a lot of the goal scoring that goes on in women's soccer is based on winning outright challenges. Teams that are just physically stronger have more endurance than others. And there are not many goals that are scored in women's soccer that make you take a step back and go, wow, that took an incredible amount of individual skill to make that. And that does not necessarily mean that women's soccer should be looked down on or not given the same amount of respect as men's soccer. Not at all. It's just to give an idea of how different the level of play is between both men's and women's soccer. Uh, but I still think women's soccer is enjoyable. I watched every single match of the 2015 World Cup in Canada. I thought it was a great tournament. I thought there was a lot of good teams there. Um, I was especially happy since the United States won that tournament. And you know, I'm glad that it's growing. I'm glad that more countries, more teams, more young girls are participating in it. Um, because I think that as the sport grows, it's only going to get better. And it deserves more attention, it deserves more recognition, and it deserves more respect. Uh, so, yeah, I mean, don't let anyone ever tell you that it's boring, because it's not. Go back to the 2011 World Cup in Germany and watch highlights of that Brazil USA quarterfinal match. That's one of the most dramatic games in men's or women's soccer that I've ever seen in my life. It's up there. It's top five in drama. Uh, so, you know, yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts on it. Yeah, I watch it, and I would encourage more people to uh, get into it as well because I think that, as I mentioned before, all these other tournaments like the Beach World Cup, the Confederations Cup, the Under 20 World Cups, football is more than just the Champions League and the men's senior national teams World Cup. It's much more than that. There's a lot of hidden gems and jewels out there. So just waiting to be found. So yeah, absolutely, I do enjoy it, and I'm gonna watch the World Cup, the Women's World Cup in 2019 in France, God willing. So yeah. So let me comment section below. Do you watch women's football sometimes when it comes on? Did you check out the 2015 Women's World Cup? Because if you didn't, then you sorely missed out, I have to say. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say in my feedback. So till then, peace out.